The Office is a fantastic, hilarious TV show. It aired over a decade ago now, and yet everyone's talking about it now more than they were then. This is because it's prime meme fuel. I'm here today to discuss somebody that no one ever talks about, ever, and this person would be the therapist of Jan Levinson. Jan starts off the show pretty professionally, but as it progresses, she gets more and more unhinged, essentially losing her mind by the end of it. I know exactly why this happened to her, but more importantly, I think her therapist knowingly made it 10 times worse. And, dear people, I have discovered a shocking reveal about who her therapist actually is that turns the entire show on its head and will not only leave you speechless and breathless, but will render you unable to view this series in the same way ever again.
I'm the Lizard King.
Hello, I'm the Theorizer. This video is sponsored by my wonderful patrons on Patreon who have supported me through everything, and surprise, now I'm uploading more. Want videos early? Want me to shout you out? Want access to my official Discord where I reveal all the details? Join. Request theory topics because pretty soon it could be the only thing motivating me to make these videos. I'll link it now and at the end of the video. So anyways, Jan Levinson doesn't tell us much about her therapist. She refers to him as Dr. Perry and mentions that he thinks she engages in self-destructive tendencies and that she should embrace them. Apparently this doctor also asks her to record her unique sexual activities with Michael so they can watch them during sessions, which is odd. So first, let's ask the simpler question. What's wrong with Jan exactly? Well, Jan's problem seems pretty straightforward from what I can see. She's extremely strict and rigid, trying to keep her life under control to fulfill her ambitions, but she's taking it very far. This strictness probably led directly to her divorce with Gould in the earlier seasons. She ultimately can't take her own rules. Her strictness is too much, and like many people seem to do nowadays, she gave herself excitement and pleasure by breaking her own rules, even though that's basically giving in to them. I think I understand this sort of thing decently, and it's not one or the other. She's operating on this extremist thinking where it mimics a kind of bipolar attitude, but it's not bipolar disorder, it's just her being fixated. If she wants to solve her issues, she should probably acknowledge that her strictness is too much and slowly let go of it across her whole life. But what she's actually doing is basically admitting defeat to it and doubling down, only to give in and do the exact opposite in her free time. She's not changing her life, she's escaping it. It's raw escapism, and it's extremely dangerous, particularly for someone like her. Dr. Perry probably even encouraged her relationship with her young assistant and the plastic surgery she got. To add on top of this, Jan is then the victim of an identity theft, so she consults Dr. Perry to help. What does he do? He proceeds to encourage her to self-destroy and escape, and any qualms about this being a misunderstanding go right out the window when she starts recording her wild nights with Michael for her therapist so they can watch them together. Perry destroyed her. But what's more, it seems to be on purpose. So why? Well, Dr. Perry never gets an appearance. He's a very enigmatic, rarely mentioned character, but is still brought up multiple times, and he's a focus of the show. Based on what happens with Jan, I can only conclude that Dr. Perry is basically studying her at this point. He thinks she's the perfect case for his colleagues to dissect, and he wants more data. It's kind of sickening. I don't know the specifics, but it would seem as though he could very well be working on a case study or a book or something. If you can glean any clues from the rest of the show on that front, be sure to mention it. But there's one big factor I think we're missing here, and it's the identity theft she mentions in tandem with both her divorce and her therapist. I think her ex-husband and therapist are somehow tied into it. The timing is phenomenal. So who is Dr. Perry? Yes, I think we meet him elsewhere in the show, and I think the identity theft comment was a relevant indicator that this man is hiding in plain sight. We have the usual list of characters, the Scranton Strangler candidates, but it cannot be Creed, Dwight, Gabe, Toby. None of these work time-wise or face-wise for Jan, but there is a mysterious little character known as Mose Schrute who piqued my interest for a bit. You see, Dwight uses his cousin Mose to spy on people, and he mentions knowing about Jan's love of certain clothing stores and such. Also, Mose has a very bizarre moment in the later seasons where he tries signing on for a position working with Dwight and reveals that he may have had another job this entire time. Also, Jan had a baby, and Dwight makes a comment towards Angela at one point saying that nobody taught Mose sex, which could loop back into this, and the common theory that Jan's baby is not a sperm donor's but rather Hunter's or someone else's, God forbid it be her therapist's. But Mose still doesn't make a whole lot of sense overall because, well, it's Mose. If you've seen the show, this sounds off, so I kept looking, and then everything clicked. Like my neck, snapping 180 degrees after my own train of thought came crashing into me. Ladies and gentlemen, this answers the entire show. Once again, I have used a one-off character to crack the code, because Jan Levinson's sex-obsessed, narcissistic, manipulative therapist is none other than Robert California. I've been thinking about this character for months straight, trying to figure out how he fits in. He just kind of flops into the show out of nowhere. He's bizarre, random, intelligent, and extremely threatening. He saw the opening for the Scranton branch's manager position and got the job by intimidating his way into it. He then proceeded to drive down to Florida and convince their CEO, Joe Bennett, to let him replace her. He then does. He spends the entirety of Season 8 kind of just meandering around as this enigmatic figure nobody really understands. He's filthy rich, travels the world, is obsessed with sex, and lives a bachelor life, yet somehow has a wife and son who he usually tries to keep out of the office at all costs. He ends the season by revealing his name isn't even Robert California, before selling Dunder Mifflin to David Wallace under a somehow legitimate alternate name, and fleeing the country to tour the world with young female gymnasts, then referring to himself as the Lizard King. This man, this weird, bizarre, random, mysterious man, is not even real. I repeat, I have solved this man's backstory. I have done it. This man does not exist. This Robert California person is a fictional identity, a character being played by this man so he can get closer to this office's employees. Who is this man then? This man is Jan's therapist. Finally introduced to us in the show's Season 7 finale. This man is actually Dr. Perry, Freudian psychologist and serial identity thief. Yes, this is deadass true. If you've seen the show, you know how real this is. He changes his name around constantly. When he sells off the company, the fake name is Bob Kazamakis. In the criminal underworld, they refer to him as the Lizard King because he camouflages wherever he goes by robbing people of their credentials. This man conned his way directly into the CEO position, and yet he sticks around the Scranton branch more than anywhere else, not just because he lives in Scranton, but because the whole point is the camera crew, which he wants to be in the spotlight of so he can play the villain like Nellie claimed she did and get popularity to sell his findings on the psychology of a dying industry and the mental collapse of its higher-ups, as happens with both Jan and Wallace. I can almost guarantee that this man has tried bankrupting Dunder Mifflin repeatedly and might even, God forbid, be the one in charge of the documentary crew in the first place. What does he do? He looks straight at the camera like he owns it. Because he does, people. He does! It's him! Robert California is a sex psychologist, just like the one who watches. And finally, do I think Robert California is the Scranton Strangler, the freak criminal who apparently strangles people without killing them? No, worse. He's that man's therapist. Robert California did not come from nowhere. He's the main villain of the show, and the reason it exists in the first place. He's never on screen with Jan. He sent the documentarians in, broke Jan and Gould apart, filled the power void, impregnated her, and stole her identity so he could hire more actors like the wife and son who we never see again. This is his M.O. His alias is Kazamakis, which, just like his patients, is 1 inch away from self-destruction. Why does this happen to me? I always get struck with the Da Vinci codes of fictional media, and I'm just expected to take it with a smile. Please join my Patreon and share the video, I beg you, or at least free follow it for the notifications. Someone has to take the brunt of these revelations, because I'm about to shatter like a $200 plasma screen TV. just here to give a shout out to the extra special patron Plasmite. But it's just dawned on me that I think Robert California has something against Dunder Mifflin because his alias's name is that of both the founders.